Hey, good afternoon, and welcome to the Joe Hoff Show. It is Wednesday, April 9th of the year of our Lord 2025, as Steve Bannon says. Glad you're here. Glad that you are okay and you are at the right spot because we're going to continue to just share with you the truth and nothing but the truth and lots going on. Again, every day it's like a fire hose of information coming at you. What do we focus on? Well, we got to continue to focus on freedom. Ultimately, this country, our families, our lives, our God, and not necessarily in that order. God, family, nation, and anyways, let's fix things out there. Let's get this country back in order. President Trump's doing everything he can. We've got to begin to demand that all organizations within this government do so. So far, I'd give the House a D rating, the Senate D minus. They've gotten some people through, not very fast. There's still a number of people that need to be um, processed through the Senate. They're not on President Trump's side, I don't think. They reluctantly do what they do. They're big rhinos. The Republican Party is made up of rhinos. There's some nasty people running this Republican Party in big red states, and it's real sad. You look at Texas, Missouri, some of these states that are red, that are ran by crooks in the Republican Party. So we've got to clean that up. I see great news. John Paxson, the Attorney General in Texas, is running against Conyers, the senator. What a snake Conyers is. So good things are happening. We got to keep fighting. We got to keep fighting for the truth and for good people in these roles because there's some snakes out there that they'll do things that you can't even imagine. Got to look more into the Wisconsin election. I've got some information on that. I've got to put together. I got some information on an election law that went in place in Missouri that sucks. That we need to let people know about. Outrageous. Again, the state's like 80% Trump. The these rhinos are terrible, and so we got to work on all that. We've got to fix a lot of things ourselves individually. We can do this, and it's going to take you to, all of us stand up and stand up for something you really believe in, so that it's not work. It's an honor to perform. By the way, met some people from Montana. I got a red mug behind me now. It comes from Montana. It's a pro-Trump mug. Loved it. I got some information from Montana as well on a story there. So I got a lot of catching up to do. Just still recovering from the weekend. We had a great time in St. Louis and working with Harry Hari and Marley Hornick with United Sovereign Americans. They do an incredible job. We're going to continue to move forward with some of the stuff that we did last weekend that led to last weekend. And the big thing, really, for me was the honor to be there, the honor to be a keynote speaker at this event in St. Louis. But also, we put a lot of work into an article from Orange County. That article went wild. 500,000 views at least. Multiple people saw it, and Elon Musk even shared it. So pretty proud about that. That's his tweet is two exclamation marks, and so pretty happy about that to be noticed because this was a big deal. What we're basically saying is that one out of every five person who voted in Orange County was either a non-citizen, invalid, or phantom voter, meaning none of these guys were valid. One out of five, that's 20%. That's out of a six pack, that's one or two cans per six pack. It's just terrible, just terrible. And so that was our piece, and Elon reshared, shared it, retweeted it. We are all really thrilled about that. Lara Logan also, and some others. So really excited about all that. So that was a big piece. We're going to continue to work on some of that. I talked to Harry yesterday about continuing to do the same thing we did in Orange County, other places. So if you hear this, reach out to me at joehoff.com. If you have an area that you want it tested to see what percentage of the voters and or the voter rolls is easier, but it'd be great to get the voters. How many people voted in your election that aren't even real people, that are just phantom voters or whatever? It'd be good to know. So if you have that desire to find that information out, you're willing to pay cost for what it costs us, we're willing to do it with a lot of volunteers for free, basically, and at cost. So let us know. We'll be talking about that more in the days and weeks ahead. Um, I tell you what, I saw this tweet this morning. I thought, man, you think you're having a bad day? Take a look at this story. It's unbelievable.
Short steps. The pallbearers carried Benjamin Aviles to his final resting spot. As they began to lay down the casket, the platform above the burial site collapses, sending the men plunging into the burial hole.
It was just a horrible incident that happened in a bad moment.
Aviles' stepdaughter, Maribel Rodriguez, says the men who fell into the hole all suffered injuries, mostly to their legs, hands, and back. Aviles' son suffered the worst of it.
The casket laid on top of him and he was out like a light. His face was in the mud.
I gotta tell you, if you're feeling down, you got some challenges, man, it can always be worse. You could be going to a family member's funeral and end up under the casket, knocked out in the mud. It could always be worse. So anyway, so that story just kind of shocked me, rocked me. I'm like, oh my God, what's going on there? Lots of stuff going on. Man, I just saw a tweet from an expert right before we came on. I don't have it available right now, but it's bad news for China. This tariff thing, China thinks they're going to be tough. They are going to get destroyed by this, and it's just bad news for China. Anyways, Trump and Bassett, they're smart guys. They're not idiots. They can see what they're getting ripped, ready to go to the table with China saying you've got to clean your stuff up. And I think nobody expresses the challenges the Americans and American companies have with China better than Kevin O'Leary yesterday in this discussion. He is so spot on. I shared a piece of his yesterday regarding tariffs. You talk about economics. This guy believes at the Shark Tank. I don't know if I've ever seen the show other than some clips. He's fantastic. He's from Canada, and he loves the idea of Canada, the 51st state. He was everything he's really been a great supporter of Trump. Anyways, listen to the rationale for the tariffs from this guy. He blows these people away at, I'll say, idiots at CNN away. Watch this.
104% tariffs in China are not enough. I'm advocating 400%. I do business in China. They don't play by the rules. They've been in the WTO for decades. They have never abided by any of the rules they agreed to when they came in for decades. They cheat, they steal IP. I can't litigate in their courts. They take product, technology, they steal it, they manufacture it, and sell it back here. Never has an administration.
400% tariffs? What would that look like?
I want Xi on an airplane to Washington to level the playing field. This is not about tariffs anymore. Nobody has taken on China yet, not the Europeans, no administration for decades. As someone who actually does business there, I've had enough. I speak for millions of Americans who have IP that have been stolen by the Chinese. I have nothing against the Chinese people. They brought great literacy, art, and tech to the world. The government cheats and steals, and finally, an administration, you may not like Trump, you may not like his style or his rhetoric, finally, an administration that puts up and says enough. 400% tariffs tomorrow morning. He'll tell you why. Xi can only stay the supreme leader if people are employed. If we wipe out any business there, because we are still 39% of all consumables on Earth and 25% of the world's GDP, America is the #1 economy on earth with all the cards. We will not have that forever. It's time to squeeze Chinese heads into the wall now.
Well, hold on a second, Kevin. Well, I hear you, but hold on. If we're talking about people, the average consumer, not necessarily the head honchos of businesses all across the globe, can they withstand the pressure of that sort of tax on the goods?
It's short-lived. There will be
but what's your timeline compared to, you don't know the average American's timeline, what they can actually survive. There's people right now who can't survive
400% tomorrow morning, cheese on an airplane to Washington to cut a deal.
It's amazing to hear CNN start talking about the little guy like they care for him. It's just such a joke. The only time that you ever hear it is when it's used as an argument to to smash Trump or some conservative. It's outrageous what the left has done to the average American. You know it, and I know it. We've seen. I was mentioning my wife last night. We've seen food prices go to a restaurant. Compare that to 4 years ago when Biden took over. It's outrageous. It's gone up, I'd say, 300%. Look at the Happy Meal. Got little kids, you know what I'm talking about. Go through the drive-through, you're rushing somewhere, getting your kids something to eat before you take them to volleyball or whatever it might be, or afterwards on the way home. And you just want something easy some night, and you see the Happy Meal that used to be, $3 or whatever. Now it's up to I don't know what. I don't know what. It's doubled, tripled. You go to places that used to cost at most $20 for family of three. Now it's up to 50. This isn't rhetoric. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, these people don't care about those. When Joe Biden's inflation was blowing this country away, and I'd say conservatively reported it at 9%, these people didn't care. They didn't care. So to me, when they start talking like now they've lost, they don't have the right to ask anything. Trump and Kevin O'Leary and others are right. We're trying to fix this. And China steals everything. He's right. I worked in Hong Kong. I've been in and out of China. That's what they do. It's mandated to do business in China. To do a bit, you have to provide them and give them total access to everything that you have, and they will steal it. That's just the way it is, and it's a terrible business model. In the rest of the world, you can't do that. It's called a crime. In China, it's called business, and that's how they, then like Larry said, then they'll make it and ship it back, and not the same quality or product, but if it's not a bad. It's cheap because they didn't have to pay for all the costs that go into research and testing and to bring a product to the market. They just grab it and run. It's not fair. He's absolutely right. So he's great. And you know what? It's not just the Chinese, and it's not just the Europeans or anybody else. It's in the US too. Our government, our politicians haven't just worked for China and allowed them to do whatever they wanted. They work against the American people as well. And President Trump's coming out and he's saying, we're not for Wall Street, we're for Main Street, for the small businesses, the smaller companies, the small banks, and we want them all to prosper. And if Wall Street doesn't do so well in the meantime, we want them to prosper. I saw somebody say today, by the way, the market in a couple of weeks, at most 6, this guy's saying it's going to just explode. So don't you worry. Don't get down. Don't let these liars get to you. Anyways, here's Scott, Secretary of Percent, talking about Main Street versus Wall Street. Take a look.
For too long, financial policy has served large financial institutions at the expense of smaller ones. No more. No more. This administration aims to give all banks the chance to succeed, whether it's JP Morgan or your local mortgage and loan. It aims to get capital to Americans who need it by getting bureaucracy out of the way. For the last 4 decades, basically since I began my career in Wall Street has grown wealthier than ever before, and it can continue to grow and do well. But for the next 4 years, the Trump agenda is focused on Main Street. It's Main Street's turn. It's Main Street's turn to hire workers. It's Main Street's turn to drive investment. And it's Main Street's turn to restore the American dream.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's what they're doing. And I think what they are doing is just making a majorly correction. No longer taking advantage of Americans, no longer stealing from Americans, no longer putting agreements in with entities overseas that are stealing from us. We're standing up for the American people. And along with that, and I saw Trump last night. He's just spot on at so many things. He's just so spot on. He's just so great to have a real president, and not just a real one, maybe the greatest ever, the greatest ever. And like I said on the show, and I've said, fight, fight, fight. that phrase will go down in history, like some of the greatest phrases ever. And it was spontaneous. We all saw it. He stood up, fight, fight, fight. It was a message to all of us. We got to fight. We don't stop. This ain't gonna stop us. By the way, there's some information coming out that Mike Benz actually shared this, that maybe the deep state was involved in Trump's assassination. We got time. I'll play you that clip, but let's play a clip here of one of the real treasonous monsters who just hates Elon Musk, and it's Chuck Schumer. Look at this when somebody asks him about Tesla and what's going on there. Take a look.
Senator, what's your opinion of the violence against Tesla, their products? What are your thoughts on that? Do you denounce the violence against Tesla products and dealerships and cars in the streets?
I can't talk about Tesla, but Elon Musk is a disaster for America, and America knows it. Look at Wisconsin.
Thank you, Senator.
Schumer's something else. He's so slimy. He's so disgusting. Man, he's a dark dude. There's something really creepy about that guy. I think they hate Elon because he knows too much. He's worked too hard, and he's found a lot of dirt on these guys. And one guy who knows that is Representative Burchett, and he shared this about Elon just recently. Take a look.
You're on the Doge subcommittee. You just said that there might be some corruption inside of the government rentals of empty buildings, members of Congress owning those buildings, outright corruption. The head of Doge, Elon Musk, saying today to Chuck Schumer, I'm starting to think that you're getting a piece of the action with all the government fraud. That couldn't possibly be true, could it? Congressman, you must know something about this. Has Elon discovered something about Chuck Schumer, his family, or corruption?
I'd say he's probably discovered something about everybody. Elon's got that paper trail, and he told us in the meeting, in our little private meeting, there's a paper trail that's going back to Washington, D.C. And dadgummit, somebody better be let out of one of these buildings in handcuffs, because this is real. This is going on. We've seen it all over. We see it in California with some of the elected officials out there. It's been documented in the past, and nobody's willing to say anything about it or do anything about it. They get reelected and they get put right back in leadership. And that's why it's so important to have a Justice Department that's not weaponized against the people, but is weaponized against corruption. And we've currently got that. We've just got to hold on to it. And I don't know if we've got the guts or the willpower to do it, because Congress is gutless, Benny. Congress is gutless. Every day, we ought to be demanding that these bills move forward, and nobody's doing it. Nobody. I mean, a few of us are, but until these committee chairmen move forward with this stuff and we get out of being compromised, I would suggest to you that we will continue on this downhill slide.
We've got a lot of compromise, a lot of Chinese hooks into members of Congress.
They're in our military installations. They're like, oh, they're flying satellites over. They don't need to fly satellites over. They're running the commissaries. They have access to people's credit cards, social security numbers, all their information. You do not think that the Chinese are making files every day on this stuff. This is just, and what the hell? Why are we letting them in these places? Why are we letting them buy property? They're not going to take it from us, Benny. We're just giving it to them. And how we give it to them is greed. And that's why they're so angry about these tariffs, because Congress is so greedy. We have been bought and sold by lobbyists and the national chambers of commerce. They're coming out now against the tariffs. Well, of course they are. They're in bed with the Chinese. They like slave labor overseas. They don't like the fact that 50%, they love the fact that 50% of America is living paycheck to paycheck, and the other half is doing fairly well. That's just wrong, Benny. And it's wrong because Congress sold them out. Lock, stock, and barrel. Over the course of several years, that's what's happened. That's why China's doing what they're doing. That's why this guy is getting by with what he got by. Ukraine almost being able to take out our president because of greed. The profit motive. I was on CNN and they said, well, Congressman, 60% of the money is being spent back in our country. So it justifies killing people? because we're getting, our missile defense companies are getting fat, and their lobbyists are contributing heavily to congressmen and senators' campaigns. I mean, is that what that's? I mean, they just basically just admitted that.
That's terrible, isn't it? But it makes all the sense in the world. It's something we've been preaching here on the Joe Hoff Show for some time. These guys, policies they make, don't they hurt the people they hurt is the people they represent, the Americans. Got U.S. companies go overseas, you can't do a deal. Go into China, they're going to take whatever you got. So what do you do? And people are excited going to China. You can lose your shirt. You lose your shirt. They'll just take it right off your back. Americans have no idea what they're getting into over there. I know that I lived in Hong Kong for a decade, and let me tell you stories. It's it's a place that you need total access and transparency to everything they do. Controls processes need to be in place. Their financials, everything, agreements need to be put together cleanly with no room for them to cheat. Because if there is, I'm telling you, that seems to be the culture over there. It's really sad. But the culture here in our politicians is the same way. President Trump actually said that last night in a speech. He talks about treason. He looks forward to getting some of these people and address the treason that they've committed. Take a look.
It's going to be something, and I'm actually looking forward to the midterms. I really are. We're going to prove that all of their treasonous years of betrayal will not be forgotten, because it's treason. What they did is treason. When they allowed millions of people to pour in through open borders from all over the world, they came. To me, that's treason. What they've done to our country is unthinkable.
That's just one small piece, the open border. I mean, the open border, they don't protect us. The elections are broken and stolen. No, that's treason. When these people do that, that's the one thing that the states and the government's supposed to provide: safety, security, and the ability to prosper. None of that's happening. Places like California have been taken over. I mentioned that over the weekend in my talk. These guys, California is really a communist nation. You can't vote these people out. The elections are stolen. They're garbage. They're garbage. You have people there standing up for them. Those people need to start to be, they need to be brought to justice via, cases, civil cases. I guess you start with that, because they're taking away people's rights. You can't even vote for the people that you want. Scary. Speaking about scary, we do have time here. Let's play this clip. It's from Mike Benz. He's saying, basically, the deep state was definitely involved in President Trump's assassination. Take a look.
What do you think the percentage likelihood is that Ryan Routh was working for someone who was a contractor or a subcontractor of the United States government or one of its entities?
95%. No, I think it's done informally, though, which is to say that this is not to say that the CIA did it or the Pentagon did it, because you have rogue cells that have informal networks that they set up to do this sort of thing, and this is the sort of thing you can really only get with electronic communications and a full sort of network map of every single person that Routh was interacting with. And what we're told is that the trial has been delayed because the volume of this is so intense, despite the fact that we're told that he was virtually homeless with his homes in foreclosure.
Yeah, I'm not buying that this is just some mentally ill person wandering around. I think somebody was operating Ryan Routh.
I agree with Matt Gaetz. Boy, Gaetz is spot on. We need him. We need him in some top role, looking into and investigating some of the stuff that's going on. Let's hope that Gaetz gets a chance to do that. We need some good Americans to start stepping up. Right now, I'd give Congress not a good grade, probably a D. Senate, I'd say D, maybe less. Presidency A+. Couldn't be doing any better what Trump's doing now in every way. And the DOJ an F, FBI an F. They're pathetic. You've got Bondi going on TV every night. That's just, we want arrests. We want people arrested right now. We want to see them, like Representative Burchett said, we want those people walked out of the Capitol in handcuffs because we know that there's so much corruption. It's just so bad. It's so terrible what these people have done to this country, and we need justice for all again, not injustice for the few. And it's really important. These next few months, some of the most important in U.S. history. We're at war. We're at war with communists. We're at war with fascists. We're at war with people that want to hurt us, harm us, bankrupt us, kill us. Um, just like they've done with President Trump. That was just that was the test run. What they've done to Roger Stone, President Trump, is tried to bankrupt him, make up crimes. It's just this is their MO. This is what they do, and it can happen to you or me any day, because this is what they do. They're monsters. They're monsters straight from hell, and we got to get justice, and that's where Bondi and Cash Patel and everything needs to be addressed quickly. Anyways, let's take a quick break, and we'll be right back after this with a fantastic guest. We'll see you then.
$10 billion are stolen every year from Americans by online scammers. Every day, millions of people fall victim to online threats. Over 30 million spam calls are made per day in America, with over 50% of daily emails being considered spam. And that's not all. On average, over 40% of devices are vulnerable to hackers, and each person in America has 10 passwords stolen per year. Can you imagine having unrecoverable credit card debt? Your savings drained to zero, your home foreclosed on, your identity stolen and ruined, your entire life, poof, gone. Introducing Safe and Secure. With the advanced programs, you'll be able to stay in control and keep hackers out. Don't let the cyber criminals win. Safe and Secure. Shield against hackers and embrace peace of mind. Visit PadoxaSNS.com for more information and to learn how to keep yourself protected.
In every thread, in every stitch, Honor-Bound USA weaves the fabric of the American spirit. It's not just apparel, it's a testament to God, family, and country. At Honor-Bound USA, we're a family of patriots who put our faith, family, and America first. When you visit our website, you'll find a line of products that embody our commitment to pray, stand, speak, and act. As the official site for the Untamed podcast, all of our products proclaim speaking the truth with courage. We also have the powerful documentary from Professor David Clements, Let My People Go. Identify yourself as one of the few who are willing to stand for what they believe in. Join the Honor-Bound USA family today. Wear it as a badge of honor, commitment to the values that shape us, and a pledge to the bright future we will build together. Because when you're honor-bound, you're not just wearing a brand, you're embodying a lifestyle.
Hi, I'm Joe, Supreme Leader of DCF. What is DCF, you ask? We're the best damn sandwich shop in the universe. Do we sell hoagies? Well, we're DCF, and the F doesn't stand for hoagies. We got 9mm sandwiches, we got beastly baguettes, and we toast buns like no other. Looking for training on bun safety? We got you covered, and our ranges are the best place to test out your new Not sandwich. So get your buns out, cause the sun's out, and let's party! We're not actually a sandwich shop.
Hey, we're back. This is Joe Hoft on the Joe Hoft Show. So glad you're here. Lots going on. By the way, I was looking at that ad, Joe Altman with the DCF buns. That is hilarious. I've seen it how many times? You look at it, that's just so funny. Of course, DCF is guns. That's what he points at the end. We're not a sandwich company. By the way, I've been to one of those locations outside of Denver. Uh, it's like an armory. It's got more guns than I think I've ever seen. So really cool stuff what Joe's doing there. Lots, lots of people are protecting themselves these days, and rightly so. We saw what Biden did. We brought in all these monsters, and now we've got these corrupt Obama and Biden judges and others, some Clinton judges still, even a Reagan judge or two, maybe a Trump judge who might stand up and you know just screw things up. So, anyways, we're happy that we've got President Trump in office. We're happy we've got great Americans that are surrounding him, that are supporting him. We're going to do our best from afar to um, support President Trump, support everything that he does to help protect this country. So, and I got to tell you, there's somebody that's been helping and supporting this country and Americans and standing up for our freedoms for some time. I had the opportunity to meet him last year in Las Vegas. There was an event at Trump Hotel, and put on by a great group of patriots, and he was there and had the opportunity to meet him then. And we have him here on the first time on the Joe Hoff Show, as far as I recall. And so it's an honor to let me introduce to you Sheriff Mack. Sheriff, welcome to the Joe Hoff Show.
Thanks. It's great to be with you and good to see you again.
Yeah, thanks a lot. Nice seeing you too. That was a neat event that weekend. We talked a lot about elections, some of the best people in the country. You were there. It was a real honor to be part of that. I think there's more of that going on. A lot that has to be done still. So
yeah,
a lot of work going on. But well, I tell you what, Sheriff, since it's your first time here, why don't you give us, if you don't mind, we've got a little bit of time here. Tell us a little bit about yourself, your history, and kind of how you got here. Okay.
Well, my career, most of my adult life has been in law enforcement or working with law enforcement and sheriffs all across the country. I started my police career way back in 1977 as I was working my way through college. I was a part-time meter maid, and the official term for meter maid is parking enforcement cadet. That's what I was, and I actually tried to go. My intent to finish my college education was to become an FBI agent. My father retired from the Bureau in 1975, the year I got married, by the way. So my wife and I are celebrating our 50th next month.
Wow.
And I'm really grateful that it never worked out to get in the FBI. That's not where I was supposed to be. I don't think if I had gotten in the FBI that I would have ever run for sheriff in my hometown of Graham County, Arizona. Safford, Arizona is where I grew up, both my wife and I. And there was an epiphany that happened to me early in my career when I was writing a lady a ticket, a traffic citation. And I realized that she was the one that ran the stop sign, but I was the one in the wrong. And after that day, that lady changed my life. I wouldn't notice her if she walked by me right now, but she changed my life, and I changed my view towards government and law enforcement, and I decided that I was going to try to keep my oath in every aspect of my job. And so I started reading about the Constitution. There's no way, Joe, there's no way you can keep an oath of allegiance sworn to in God's name if you've never read or studied the Constitution. You cannot keep an oath to something you've never read or that you know nothing about. And so those are the classes that I teach now all across the country. The Constitution for law enforcement, the Constitution for sheriffs, the Constitution for public officials, the Constitution for we the people. All of us need to be educated. All the people in every county need to be educated as to what their sheriff is supposed to be doing. And he needs to be educated in that as well, because most sheriffs don't know. But
Well,
Most sheriffs don't know the proper role of government. They don't know the oath of office, why we take it, where it comes from. And so I became the first sheriff in American history while I was sheriff right after I got elected the second time. In 1994, I became the first sheriff in American history to file a lawsuit, a major lawsuit against the federal government, the Clinton administration, no less, in this particular case, take it all the way to the United States Supreme Court and win. Other than that, I really haven't done much.
Well, here's the thing though. You left this door a little open, so I gotta ask the question: what was it that this lady did or said to you that rocked your world so much? What was the situation that are you able to share? You said she was in the right.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's in one of my books, actually, my book that's called The Proper Role of Law Enforcement. If anybody would like to pick that up on my website at cspoa.org, along with, of course, a review copy of the Supreme Court case. And this is every American, I'm not kidding you, every American, young or old, should have this book in their home, their pocket, their car, their purse, their wallet, whatever. It fits right in your shirt pocket. It's very small, but it's the most powerful little book, except for the Pocket Constitution, that you'll find anywhere in American liberty. But this lady never said a word to me. Not one word. I thought, I thought she would pull the mother card. She had about 5 or 6 kids in the car that were they looked like the Tasmanian devil. They were just going crazy. They were fighting, legs, hands, feet, heads. And she was so depressed and discouraged, and she had it that day. And all she did was keep her hands on the steering wheel and stare right through the windshield, just as if she wasn't there anymore. She was ignoring her kids fighting and crying, and it was obvious she was having a horrible day, and I was just about to make it worse. It was obvious that she couldn't afford this ticket if it was for $5. And I think back then they were like 25 or 30 bucks. This is, like I said, the mid it was when this particular case happened, it was like 1982 or early 83, because I had just finished my undercover assignment in 1982. So I finished undercover October of 82, and one of the worst times of my life. Absolutely hated it. It was a very successful operation, but I hated it. I hate the drug war. Anyway, that's another topic for another day. But an epiphany occurred to me as I was looking at her and I was writing this ticket. And the epiphany that came over me was, is there anything you're doing here that's helping this family? Is there anything you're doing here that's bringing honor to the badge you wear on your chest? And is there anything you're doing here that's making this a better place to live? And I was so ashamed of myself that I had lost my compassion, because I just wanted to be on first string. I wanted to be on the first team of the police, of writing tickets, because that's what we were told to do. And so I was going to be the best ticket writer that there ever was on the police department. And I didn't realize what I had lost: my humanity and my compassion for people. Now, I was never a bad guy or mean guy. I didn't beat up. In 20 years of law enforcement, I never slugged another human being. I never shot anybody. I never maced anybody, never kicked anybody, never hit anybody with my nightstick. But I'm a pretty big guy, and most people don't want to pick on the bigger guys anyway, but it's still unnecessary most of the time. And so I kept the ticket. I walked away from this woman, and I'm wondering how long she waited for me to come back, because I didn't say anything to her. I just walked away. I was so ashamed. And then I dedicated myself to the Constitution. I took another oath that I would never be on the wrong side again. And then that led me 6 years later to moving home to Arizona and running for sheriff. And miraculously, I was elected in 1988 and reelected in 1992.
Wow, what a great story. What a great story. What part of Arizona is it that you're at right now?
It's 1 hour north of the border. There's one county that separates Graham County from the border, and that's Cochise County. And so it's the southeast corner. It's about 45 minutes to New Mexico. And it's, like I said, it's about an hour, maybe an hour and 10 minutes to Nogales at the border.
Mm. And you were a sheriff for some time too, right?
I was what?
A sheriff for many
Yeah,
years,
8 years. Yeah, 2 terms. Yeah. In fact, I lost my second term because of the lawsuit against the Clinton administration. And so people didn't really understand it. I probably didn't do a good enough job of getting in the newspaper and other public meetings to really tell people what I was doing. And of course, my political enemies and other enemies say, oh, he just wants to be an activist in Washington, D.C. If he wants to do that, he should run for Congress. We just want a sheriff. And this is a small town, and we just want a sheriff that really cares about us and takes care of business here at home. Well, I actually published my journal that showed where I was and what I did every day of my job as sheriff. And I really had 2 full-time jobs, sheriff and suing the Clinton administration. So, and 6 other sheriffs joined me in the lawsuit, and I'll be eternally grateful that they did. And that really had a big play in going to the Supreme Court because Sheriff Prince from Montana and I are in the same circuit court, which is the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco. We got overturned, but the sheriff in Louisiana, Sheriff Romero, and Sheriff Coog from Texas are in the Fifth Circuit, which is New Orleans, and they won. So we had opposite rulings at the appellate court on the exact same case. And so my attorneys said, that's going to guarantee us a trip to the Supreme Court. And indeed, Sheriff Prince and I appeared at the Supreme Court on this case, December of 1996. The ruling came out June 27, 1997, which changed my life forever.
Wow, that's just fantastic. And what was it that you were fighting for? What was your position?
Well, it was on the 10th Amendment because it was, and that's a good question. The issue was the Brady Bill, and that was a gun control scheme promulgated by Congress, promoted by Handgun Control Incorporated and Sarah Brady, whose husband was shot during the assassination attempt on Ronald Reagan in March of 1981. And so they used him as the poster boy, which he didn't really care for, because I actually talked to him at the Supreme Court. He was there in his wheelchair, but he was very congenial. He told me he admired me for what I did, and I told him I appreciated all the service that he gave to Ronald Reagan and to our country. We had a very good talk, and we talked for about 10 or 15 minutes. I'm surprised his wife didn't come and stop us because she was not a nice person. But James Brady was a nice person. What you need to know also, and every gun owner in this country needs to know this, there were 5 Brady bills scheduled to be passed 1 year after the other until the Brady bill would have completely gutted and killed the Second Amendment. And in fact, just 2 weeks after I filed on the very day the Brady bill took effect, on February 28, 1994, 2 weeks later, Senator Howard Metzenbaum from New York introduced Brady Bill 2. Well, it didn't even make it out of committee because Brady Bill 1 was still under litigation, and they wanted to see how that went first. After we won, Brady Bills 2, 3, 4, and 5 all died. And so 7 sheriffs did more to preserve the Second Amendment, really unbeknownst to most people in the country. But we did more to preserve the Second Amendment than all of Congress and all the politicians in our country since the Civil War. And it was really that part of the success of our lawsuit never really got talked about very much. But this was also a suit not done on the Second Amendment. It was done on the 10th Amendment, talking about states' rights and federalism and the authority the states have to nullify tyranny of the federal government. And that's really where we came out ahead, is redefining the 10th Amendment and redefining federalism pursuant to this case. This case is absolutely a huge, one of the most important cases of all time, but the most important 10th Amendment decision in the history of America.
Well, it leads me to a bunch of questions. I'm really excited to have you here. This is an incredible history lesson for me. I've heard of the Brady Bill, I remember when Brady was shot. I remember when Nixon, or not Nixon, when Reagan was shot. I remember that.
Yeah.
And then the Brady Bill, and they made him into the media made him into this real hero, Ronald Reagan guy. So that was a bit questionable. But what was it that was in the bill that wasn't constitutional?
Well, of course.
And then what was your argument?
Excellent question. The Brady Bill was the first time in history where the federal government decided to commandeer the office of a state official or county official, the sheriffs in this case, and they literally said that we had to enforce it for them for free and with no negotiation. Now get this, and this is true. It's all in it's all documented. You can look up the case yourself. Cornell University Law School did the best review of this case. That's where I studied that case over and over, and then I put the most important parts in this little booklet. But anybody can look up the case, look up Mack VUS or Prince VUS, and you'll find the case. It's still on the internet, I'm sure. But they threatened to arrest us. Now, Joe, get this. They threatened to arrest us if we failed to comply. They're going to arrest every sheriff in the country that fails to comply. Are you kidding? And so why there wasn't every sheriff in Arizona and every sheriff across the country that joined this lawsuit, but even in Texas, only one sheriff did it out of 254. But why the sheriffs were so timid and afraid of this, and they still are today. Most sheriffs don't want to read this. They don't want anything to do with it because I guess they don't want to know the truth as to what they should be trying to enforce. And I really don't understand the sheriffs on this at all. Look, I've dedicated my life to trying to get the sheriffs to understand the importance of their position, their job, and their oath of office. And many of them run from me as if, I've got typhoid fever or something. I don't get what they're afraid of. And well, one of them told me, so I guess I know a little bit. One of them said, I know you're a good guy, and I know a lot of people on the internet have lied about you, but I don't want them to lie about me. I've got to get reelected. So maybe that's most sheriffs. They just worrying about getting reelected instead of really serving and defending the people in their counties. And the best thing they could do right now is defend their people's right to keep and bear arms, the right of freedom of speech that we would be really fighting if Kamala Harris was president right now. Oh. And so we've put this out to all the sheriffs nationwide that every one of them should be helping Tom Homan and President Trump with deportation. And the best example of that success was Florida sheriffs. All 67 sheriffs are on board with working with Governor DeSantis and Tom Homan to deport criminals out of their state. And so we're really proud of the sheriffs in Florida.
Wow, that's great. Yeah, that's where I'm from. This amazing story that you've shared here, and this happened back during the Clinton era. It's just so ultimately what you were able to do is say, hey, the federal government cannot mandate that sheriffs or anybody, I guess locally, is it states as well, do certain things. Was that the ultimate ruling, or what was it?
Yeah. In fact, Scalia quoted a prior case of New York v. U.S. from 1992, and that quote is in here. And I can quote it to you right now. We have held, however, that state legislatures are not subject to federal direction. Now, that's pretty powerful. Not only do we not have to do what they say, we're not even subject to federal direction. And so some people have actually asked, does that include the Supreme Court? And I'll say, well, if you look at Article 3, it does say that the Supreme Court can resolve some issues within the states and states with the federal government. So, look, I was the one that said, let's go to court. However, I don't believe the sheriffs should have gone to court. I think that if the sheriffs would have been united on this and there would have been more than just one, I was by myself on this whole case for like a month, and I didn't think anybody was joining it. So, and then Sheriff Prince joined second. And so I was so grateful that he did because I thought the federal government, I'm suing the Clintons here.
Yeah.
You know, and so the greatest miracle of all of that is that I lived to tell about it. You know, who trusts the Clintons, you know?
No
and
kidding.
so, yeah, but I'm still perplexed how many sheriffs don't want to know about the case.
That reminds me of Tucker Carlson spoke in front of Heritage. I saw this talk of his. It was about a week before he got let go by Fox, and he said he was talking about COVID, and he was talking about. He said, you know, he really admired the people that stood up against the mandates, stood up against the vax, were and would not comply with some of these mandates that were pushed upon. He says, I think the need for like sex and food is great, but the need to be part of, the need to be not to be an outlier is so great that's how they could manipulate people into doing things. It's like people are so scared to take a stand and step outside what's the norm, and it's fear.
Exactly.
It's fear.
Yeah.
And I think he was spot on. Yeah.
Well, if anybody can get me on Tucker, I really want to be on his show. So
wow. There you go. Great.
And I'm serious. I would love to be on with him. I met him once at a CPAC meeting. I don't know, about 12, 15 years ago. I don't know, but it was CPAC a long time ago. And we had a nice talk, and he knew who I was, but he's been doing great work, and I would love to be part of it. I think this message needs to get out. The sheriffs of this country have got to wake up. The people of this country have got to wake up, and they've got to have a relationship with their sheriff because he's your ultimate protector.
Wow.
You know, why do the sheriffs in this country allow the IRS to come in and harass and victimize the American people and law-abiding citizens in his county? Why do they put up with that? We don't need to wait and ask permission to stand against tyranny and bullying and criminal bureaucrats from Washington, D.C. And our job is to protect people from all enemies, both foreign and domestic. All enemies. And right now, the deep state is the greatest enemy to America.
I agree 100%. I just saw Mike Benz was talking about Trump's assassination, saying he believes that the deep state was involved. He goes, not necessarily CIA, but they've got these, he calls these factions or whatever, these groups that somehow they're tied to. And he just has no doubt that they're behind these assassinations of Trump. And clearly they were behind JFK's assassination and probably Bobby Kennedy's, as well as Martin Luther King's. We still haven't gotten that information out. We don't have a lot of information. What is, speaking about that, if you look at the Trump administration so far over the last 3 months, remarkable stuff, unbelievable. He's got the left on their heels,
100%. In fact, I said on a show yesterday, I think it's really unusual to see this, but Trump is actually keeping his word and keeping his promises that he made during the campaign. Not very many presidents can say that. Certainly Obama can't, Biden can't. And it's really pathetic that now, with him keeping his word to the American people, all these crazies are spewing out all this stuff about the total and utter corruption of Trump administration. If you want to look at some corruption, look at the 8 years of Obama and the 4 years of Biden, of the Biden administration. This is so pathetic, and the criminality that took place during the Biden administration, it's now coming out. The big cover-up for Joe Biden to remain the puppet president. And do you remember right back at the beginning when Biden was in about 3 months and he was doing kind of a little press release that he was reading and making mistakes, couldn't even read the teleprompter correctly. But then the press started asking questions. Do you remember what happened?
No, go ahead.
They pulled the plug. The TV screen went blank. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
3 months
nobody even
in.
hardly talks about that anymore.
He was out to lunch in the election. I remember I've
Yeah, he
written three
was.
books. I wrote 3 books on the steel. They all come down to this. It was stolen because it never should have been certified. And that's my background, audit and finance, as you know.
Yeah.
And it's like, no way would you certify this in the real world, in the corporate world. You can't have no transparency. You can't have machines that have security issues. You can't have ballots coming out of nowhere. And it's a total free for all. I really think I was at an event this weekend with United Sovereign Americans in St. Louis. I just think there's states like California right now, they're communist. There's, what's going on in our elections now is an absolute joke. And the
Well, it
sheriffs have
is.
something to do with that too.
Yes, and there were only 6 sheriffs that conducted criminal investigations on elections. One in Yuma, Arizona, actually made arrests. Sheriff in San Juan County, California, made an arrest, and he wasn't really big into any right-wing conspiracy theory stuff. He had people bring him evidence, and he investigated, just like every sheriff was supposed to. And there was a lot more evidence out there that sheriffs ignored. And Calvin Hayden in Johnson County, he did an investigation, and they threw him out of office. They unelected him, and he was doing a terrific job. Darleaf in Michigan is still investigating election fraud and has been doing so for 3.5 years. And then Sheriff Schmeling in Wisconsin did a thorough investigation, and the Attorney General for the state made fun of him, and he said he turned it over to him. A very thorough investigation. I've seen it, and the Attorney General said, "Nice publicity stunt, Sheriff. Nice publicity stunt."
That's outrageous.
I know. So they would never do anything about it.
Yeah. No, we've got to fix this. We've got a couple really, that was our message this weekend is, we got a few months, maybe a few years, but we've got to get this fixed, because if we don't get our elections free and fair, we're doomed. And America's way on our side. We're 80% of Americans. They want prosperity, they want freedom, they want fair elections, they want the people that they vote for to be counted accurately, and that's not happening. So a lot of work for all of us to do.
Well, as long as we keep using Chinese machines, it's going to keep being manipulated, completely manipulated and altered.
Absolutely. Well, Sheriff, I got to tell you, first of all, congratulations on the upcoming 50-year anniversary. That's fantastic. And I've got a brother and a sister now with 50 years each, and my parents, and I think my grandparents had like 70 years together.
Wow.
My mom's parents. So they lived a long time. And so it's a real blessing to have that. And so congratulations on that. How can people reach out and find you? And I know you're helping out with Tina Peters' show periodically now. We really thank you for that.
I love Tina, and it just tears my heart out to see what she's going through because of the corruption of Colorado. I really hope that the DOJ does a criminal investigation on that. I hope they do that right away. We're also working with Sheriff Scott Jenkins to get him pardoned, because he was just found guilty this past November. Leftovers from the Biden corrupt FBI. FBI went after him on federal bribery charges, and just absolutely ridiculous things that happen every day from politicians. They charged him and gave him 10 years in prison. He hasn't reported to prison yet, but he's about to. We really need to get this to Trump or to Pam Bondi or to Kash Patel, and somebody needs to do something to get this man a pardon or his sentence commuted. He is a good man, one of the best constitutional sheriffs in the country, and he's lost his job, he's lost everything, and now they're trying to put him in a cage. So, folks, that's Sheriff Scott Jenkins from Culpeper County, Virginia. Let's get him some help. And the next thing I want everybody to know is you can go to CSPOA.org, become a member of our posse, become a member and a part of the solution. The sheriffs of this country have the power and ability to make this very effective to take back our freedom and peaceful. If the sheriffs are on board and he's working with you, his posse, we want every sheriff to have a posse. We train you how to do that at CSPOA.org. We have a training session today, 3:30 Eastern time and every member of our posse, if you're a member, which costs like $11 a month, it's nothing, but it's huge. The solution that we offer the American people. And it doesn't matter who's in office, this works. And we have proof that it does. And if every American would get involved with us as we stand for liberty, we're going to win this thing. Right now, we're pushing to back Homan and President Trump. And we will do more as time goes on. But we need you. We, the people, have to be involved in this. And the sheriffs must be involved in it as well. There's your solution.
Amen. Everybody's got to stand up right now. We've got this window. We got to, as the saying, I'm saying, going down in history, fight, fight, fight. That is exactly what we have to do now. And it couldn't be a more appropriate phrase for this, age and time in history. It's really, really important times. And Sheriff, you're doing a great job. Thanks so much for helping out with everything.
Thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thank you. And helping out with Tina too. That's we're all trying to support her as best we can.
Yeah.
Hopefully someday soon she'll be out of that nightmare that they put her in. Thanks so much, Sheriff. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon.
See you soon. Thank you.
Have you back. And thank you all. We'll be back tomorrow on the Joe Hoff Show. Appreciate you being here. Great guest tomorrow. So join us. And actually tomorrow I'll also be on the Tina Peters Show before the Joe Hoff Show. So you get 2 hours of Joe tomorrow for your entertainment value and enjoyment. So see you then.